Kevin Stefanski's hesitation at the podium said more than any depth chart could. When pressed on Shedeur Sanders' development, Stefanski dodged, deflected, and ultimately deferred, not out of confusion but out of discomfort. Behind the vague praise and "he's progressing" soundbites lies a coach visibly strained by pressure from above. Andrew Barry, clearly convinced by Sanders' potential, isn't asking any more. He's dictating. And Stefanski's tone, measured, almost reluctant, betrays how out of step he is with a new quarterback-first mandate taking over the organization. Sanders' elevation isn't just a football decision, it's a referendum on coaching control.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Barry's direct intervention has exposed fissures in the Browns' internal hierarchy, with Stefanski forced to abandon his measured approach in favor of the improvisational flair that Sanders brings. In making this pivot public, the Browns are declaring Sanders not just a quarterback, but a franchise priority, and that reshapes every layer of decision-making going forward. The Cleveland Browns aren't just changing quarterbacks, they're changing everything. After weeks of awkward press conferences, vague updates, and sideline body language that said more than any quote ever could, head coach Kevin Stefanski has officially announced that rookie Shedeur Sanders will be starting the next game against the Chicago Bears. But this wasn't a moment of clarity. It was a forced admission. A move that wasn't born from coaching conviction, but from mounting pressure behind the scenes. Because this wasn't Stefanski's idea. It was general manager Andrew Barry's call. Barry didn't just suggest it, he pushed it hard. This wasn't a quiet strategy shift, it was an organizational line in the sand. And by all accounts, Stefanski crossed it reluctantly. The decision to start Sanders came after weeks of internal tension that have now spilled into the public eye. The GM wants to build around a dynamic, elusive, off-platform playmaker. The head coach wants to stick with a conservative, structured offense. One is trying to modernize the Browns. The other is trying to preserve control. And now that control is slipping away. Sanders isn't just a quarterback change. He represents a shift in power, and Stefanski knows it. From the start, the signs were obvious. Stefanski has never fully embraced Shedeur's unique skill set. His public comments have been cautious, his praise measured. Even as Sanders showed flashes of elite ability, Stefanski downplayed the progress, sticking to generic phrases about development and staying the course. No specifics. No excitement. Just a lot of hedging. That's because Sanders doesn't fit Stefanski's system. His off-script style, those wild, instinctive plays that make fans hold their breath, run directly against the structure-first football the coach has built his career on. But while Stefanski has tried to restrain that chaos, Barry sees it as the team's future. And Barry's not waiting for permission anymore. Sources inside the organization say the GM has been clear. The Browns are done suppressing elite traits in the name of predictability. Sanders' ability to create outside the pocket, extend plays, and throw off platform isn't something to contain, it's something to build around. And that kind of shift can't happen with the head coach dragging his feet. So Barry acted. And Stefanski? He caved on camera. His announcement that Sanders would start against the Bears wasn't triumphant or confident. It was flat, evasive, a formality. There was no real endorsement of Shedeur's strengths, no genuine belief behind the words. It felt like someone reading a script they didn't, and that's exactly what this is, a front office-led script. It's a complete pivot in offensive philosophy. The Browns are now moving away from their system-heavy approach and leaning fully into a quarterback-centric model. Not because Stefanski wants to, because ownership and the GM demand it. And the contrast with the Bears, Cleveland's next opponent, couldn't be more obvious. In Chicago, Caleb Williams walked into a system designed around him. Not tweaked. Not adjusted. Built from the ground up to amplify his strengths. From day one, the Bears embraced his improvisation, his instincts, his playmaking. They didn't just tolerate his style, they made it their own. The Browns until now did the opposite. They tried to mold Sanders into a safe, structured game manager. Tried to coach out the very traits that made him special. But with Barry taking control, that era is over. The new mandate? Let Shedeur be Shedeur. And that means the entire coaching strategy has to shift. Fast. No more dialing back the playbook. No more forcing a creative quarterback into conservative reads. The team is expected to reorient its offensive design around mobility, off-platform throws, and unscripted plays. And for a coach like Stefanski who built his reputation on timing and control, That's not just uncomfortable, it's threatening. He's being asked to run an offense he doesn't believe in. And if he doesn't adapt quickly, this quarterback change could trigger a coaching change right behind it. Because this isn't just a difference in strategy, it's a clash in philosophy. And Barry's philosophy is winning. You can see it in the way the team talks about Sanders behind closed doors. The shift from cautious language to genuine recognition. Reports suggest that Shedeur has made huge strides in his development. Rapid growth, elite traits shining through, and confidence growing with every snap. Even coaches who were skeptical at first are now acknowledging that Sanders has something you can't teach. The ability to turn broken plays into touchdowns. That kind of talent changes timelines. It changes locker rooms. It changes how teams think about the future. And that's the part Stefanski can't ignore anymore. His system may be comfortable, but it's no longer enough. The league is moving toward quarterbacks who are the system, players who dictate the flow of the game, not follow it. And unless Stefanski is willing to coach that way, he's coaching against the tide. Barry knows this. Ownership knows this. And now, so does everyone else. Because the power struggle isn't a secret anymore. It's on full display. Stefanski was forced to go public with a decision he didn't fully believe in. And now, every snap Sanders takes is a reflection of that power shift. And let's be clear, if Shedeur performs well against the Bears, the dominoes are going to start falling. A strong outing will validate Barry's approach, silence the critics, and put Stefanski's job security under a microscope. Because if the rookie flourishes in an offense that was forced into existence, it proves that the old system wasn't the answer. It wasn't the quarterback holding things back, it was the philosophy. And two, that kind of validation doesn't leave room for adjustments. It leads to firings, replacements, clean slates, and that's where this is heading. Stefanski is either going to fully embrace the change or be replaced by someone who will. Because Barry's made it clear, the team is now built around Shedeur Sanders. And everything else, including the coaching staff, has to fall in line. This is no longer a developmental year. This is the start of a quarterback-centric rebuild, and the GM is taking the wheel. Even if that means driving over the old regime to get there. The fallout from this move is only beginning. Sanders will be tested. Stefanski will be scrutinized. And the locker room will have to choose sides, either rally around the new face of the franchise or cling to a system that's losing relevance by the week. There's no neutral ground anymore. This game against Chicago is going to be more than just a start. It's going to be a statement. And how the Browns respond, on the field, on the sideline, and in the front office, will shape everything that comes next. Because in the NFL, power doesn't stay balanced for long. And when your franchise quarterback becomes bigger than your head coach, there's only one way this ends. Let us know what you think. Was Barry right to pull the trigger and force this move, or is Stefanski getting pushed out of his own locker room too soon? Drop your take in the comments, hit that like button if you're here for the chaos, and don't forget to subscribe for more breakdowns as this story continues to unfold. We'll be watching. The storm in Cleveland hasn't passed, it's only getting louder. By forcing Kevin Stefanski to name Shedeur Sanders the starting quarterback, General Manager Andrew Barry didn't just make a football decision. He escalated a battle that's been bubbling beneath the surface all season. A battle between vision and tradition. Between a quarterback the franchise wants to build around, and a coach who still seems unsure if he's ready to let go of the old way. This isn't just about who takes the snaps against the Bears. This is about who holds the future of the Browns in their hands. And at this point, it's not Stefanski. The balance of power inside the organization has officially shifted. And it's not subtle. Barry didn't just suggest Sanders should start. He applied organizational pressure, clear, direct, and strategic. The kind of pressure that forces a head coach to walk into a press conference and deliver someone else's decision while pretending it was his own. You could see it in Stefanski's body language. The guarded tone. The carefully worded phrases. No glowing praise. No confident declaration. Just enough enthusiasm to check a box. It was the public version of a white flag. And make no mistake, this wasn't about Sanders not being ready. It was about a coaching staff that was too rigid to get him ready. Until Barry stepped in. Behind the scenes, Stefanski's reluctance has been a major point of contention. While Sanders has continued to show elite traits, particularly his rare off-platform ability, field awareness, and elusiveness, the coaching staff kept framing him as a developmental piece. Not quite ready. Not quite system-aligned. Translation: he plays too much like himself and not enough like the system demands. That right there is the problem. Because this isn't college anymore. This isn't about turning athletes into textbook quarterbacks. It's about evolving with the game, and the game has moved on from Stefanski's preferred style. The league is dominated by improvisers. Players who can go off script, adapt in real time and turn pressure into production. Caleb Williams, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and now Shedeur Sanders. But what did the Browns do? They tried to suppress those instincts, tried to fit him into a system that was never designed for someone like him. And Barry finally said, he saw what the Bears did with Caleb Williams, how they didn't just allow him to play his game. They designed the game around him. They built the offense to highlight his unique traits, rather than sanding them down to fit a structure. That's the model. That's where the league is going. And Barry isn't going to let Cleveland be the team that gets left behind. Which is why this moment matters so much. This isn't about one game. It's about a cultural shift inside the organization. The Browns are shedding their skin. Moving from a coach-driven, system-first model to a quarterback-centric, talent-maximizing one. And Sanders is the centerpiece. That means more than just letting him start. It means giving him the tools, the freedom, and the system to thrive. And if Stefanski can't deliver that, then it's not just Shedeur's future on the line. It's the coach's. Already there are whispers that this is a trial run, not just for the quarterback but for the coaching philosophy. If Sanders performs well and the offense finally opens up, that's proof that Stefanski's system was the bottleneck. That the Browns weren't just playing the wrong quarterback, they were playing the wrong style of football. And if that becomes the narrative, there's no coming back from that. Coaches don't survive being exposed as the problem. Not when the front office and ownership have already staked their vision on the new guy. And let's talk about that vision. It's not subtle. It's bold, aggressive, and quarterback-led. Barry is signaling that this is no longer about fitting talent into a scheme. It's about building around the talent. Lamar Jackson. That shift changes everything. The playbook, the personnel decisions, even the long-term coaching structure. If Sanders is the guy, then you build the house for him, not just hand him the keys to a house that was built for someone else. That's what the Bears did for Caleb. That's what the Chiefs have done for Mahomes. That's what the Ravens did for Lamar. And it's what the Browns haven't done. Until now. Which is why this next stretch of games isn't just a quarterback evaluation. It's a full organizational audit. If Sanders thrives, it validates Barry. It accelerates change. It shifts the locker room dynamic, giving more players confidence that this team is finally moving forward instead of treading water. It opens the door for a new era, one that prioritizes adaptability and playmaking over structure and predictability. But if he struggles, then the criticism shifts. The questions begin. Was it too soon? Did Barry overreach? Was Stefanski right to be cautious? And that's the tightrope they're all walking now. Because there's no turning back. This isn't an experiment. This is a commitment. And Stefanski knows it. You don't have to read between the lines to see the tension. The coach is caught between a philosophy he spent years perfecting, and a quarterback who refuses to be limited by it. And now he has to coach in a style that doesn't match his instincts, while also proving that he can still lead a team that's changing under his feet. That's not just uncomfortable. That's unstable. The truth is Stefanski may already be on borrowed time. The Browns didn't just change quarterbacks. They changed directions. And if the head coach can't or won't keep up, someone else will. Because what this team is building now requires total buy-in. Half measures won't work. You can't halfway believe in your quarterback. You can't halfway design an offense around his talents. And you definitely can't halfway commit to the future when the front office is going all in. Shedeur Sanders is more than just the new starter. He's the test case. He represents everything the Browns are trying to become. Modern, unpredictable, explosive, and finally, aligned with where the league is going. And the message from Barry is clear. You're either on board with that or you're in the way. So the real question now isn't whether Shedeur is ready. It's whether Stefanski, because the clock is ticking. And it's ticking loud. The Bears game is just the beginning. Every game from this point forward will be viewed through the lens of this decision. Every touchdown, every mistake, every play call, it'll all be part of the case either for or against Stefanski's place in this new Browns era. And if things click, if the offense suddenly comes alive, if Sanders starts making plays that this team hasn't seen in years, if the energy shifts and the locker room buys in, then it won't matter how many years Stefanski's been here, or how loyal his supporters are. The Browns are moving on with or without. The Browns quarterback controversy isn't a storyline anymore. It's the storyline. This is no longer about a rookie waiting his turn. It's about a franchise being dragged, publicly, messily, into a new era it's clearly not ready for. Shedeur Sanders will start against the Chicago Bears. That's official. But what's unofficial and far more explosive is how we got here. Because this wasn't a coaching decision. This was a front office mandate. General Manager Andrew Berry didn't just nudge Kevin Stefanski. He forced him. What should have been a triumphant moment for a young quarterback has instead exposed a deep and widening crack inside the Browns' leadership structure. Stefanski didn't look like a coach excited to unleash his future franchise player. He looked like a man reading a statement he didn't write. That's the part fans are clinging to. Not the announcement itself, but the energy, or lack of it. For weeks, Stefanski avoided giving Sanders meaningful praise. The press conferences were full of hedges and half-answers. He's making progress. There's still a lot to work on. We'll evaluate everything. Now compare that to how the Bears talk about Caleb Williams. Over there it's all in energy. Full backing. Creative playbooks. Confidence. The quarterback is the system. In Cleveland, up until now, Shedeur was treated like a disruption. An outlier to be managed. His style of play, off-script, unpredictable, instinct-driven, doesn't fit into Stefanski's clean, conservative scheme. And instead of adapting the offense to suit him, they tried to polish the edges off a player whose edges are exactly what make him dangerous. Let's call it what it is. But Andrew Berry? He wasn't having it anymore. Behind the scenes, Berry's been championing Sanders for weeks. He's seen the flashes. He knows this league is shifting toward quarterbacks who can make something out of nothing. And when the coaching staff kept slow-walking the transition, Berry did what most GMs are too afraid to do. He pulled rank. Because here's the thing. Front offices don't usually get involved in quarterback decisions at this level unless things are already broken. This isn't just about a roster move. It's about vision. Identity. Who this team wants to be in 2025 and beyond. And Berry has made his choice. He's betting the future of the Browns on Shedeur Sanders' raw talent, playmaking instincts, and off-platform brilliance. And Stefanski? He's being told to either adapt or step aside. This is why the stakes are so high. It's not just about how Sanders performs against the Bears, it's about what his performance represents. If Shedeur balls out, that's proof the old system was holding him back. It's proof that Berry's vision is working, and Stefanski's was the problem all along. And once a coach is seen as the one slowing things down, his days are numbered. This isn't speculation. It's pattern. Look around the league. Teams that refuse to evolve get left behind. The moment your coach's system becomes more important than your quarterback's talent, that's when it's already over. And Berry knows this. That's why he's not waiting for Stefanski to come around. He's shifting the organization with or without him. Now let's be clear, this isn't just about system versus talent. It's also about ego. Stefanski has built his identity on control, discipline, predictability. Quarterbacks in his system are expected to execute clean, structured reads. No surprises, no hero ball. But that kind of play calling doesn't work with Shedeur Sanders. He doesn't operate on rails. He operates in chaos. He's the kind of quarterback who sees a broken pocket as an opportunity, not a problem. And that scares coaches like Stefanski. Because when the quarterback stops following the script, the coach stops being the author. That loss of control is exactly what we're seeing play out now. Stefanski didn't just lose a quarterback battle, he lost the narrative. And now the narrative belongs to Sanders. The timing couldn't be louder. Starting Shedeur against the Bears, against Caleb Williams, isn't a coincidence. It's a direct comparison. A spotlight game. Two rookie quarterbacks, both with elite traits. But only one was embraced from day one. The other had to fight against his own coaching staff to even get on the field. That contrast matters. The Bears handed Caleb the keys and built a car that fits his driving style. The Browns gave Sanders the keys to a bus with square wheels, and then wondered why it didn't go anywhere. And now they've finally swapped the wheels out. Too little too late? Or just in time? This moment is transformative not just for the quarterback, but for the entire Cleveland Browns franchise. Because let's say Sanders delivers. Let's say he shines, throws off-platform lasers, escapes pressure, keeps drives alive with his legs and instincts. You think Stefanski's going to take credit for that? You won't get the chance. Because the second this offense looks alive under Sanders, the entire organization's attention will shift away from the coach and toward the quarterback. The players will notice. The locker room will shift. Ownership will see the fans waking up. And once the fan base starts demanding a system built around Shedeur, anything less becomes a liability. That's how fast this can move. And if Stefanski stumbles now, If the offense still looks rigid, if the play calling doesn't align with Sanders' strengths, if he continues coaching like this is still 2020, the noise is only going to get louder. You don't survive a QB coup like this and keep your job without changing everything. But can he? That's the biggest question. Because Stefanski isn't just being asked to coach a different quarterback, he's being asked to coach a different kind of football. One that values unpredictability over order. One that rewards creativity, risk-taking, and chaos. It's the opposite of everything he's done so far. And adapting now, under this kind of pressure, with a front office breathing down his neck? That's not easy. That's not natural. That's survival. 1. Because here's the truth, Shedeur Sanders is the offense now. The old blueprint is gone. This isn't a system with a quarterback. It's a quarterback becoming the system. And that shift doesn't leave room for resistance. The Browns are entering uncharted territory. The safe, structured offense is gone. The new plan? Bet big. Let your quarterback create. Embrace the chaos and build something around it. It's risky. It's uncomfortable. But it might be exactly what this team. For years, the Browns have flirted with modern football but always retreated when it got uncomfortable. This time, thanks to Barry, they've crossed the line. They're all in on talent over template. And whether it works or not, this decision will define the next 5 years of Browns football. So yeah, the Sanders start is just the tip of the iceberg. Behind it is a complete transformation of how this team wants to operate. And every pass he throws is going to either reinforce that shift or throw it into question. The pressure is massive. The expectations are unreasonable. The spotlight is brutal. But this is what happens when a quarterback becomes the franchise. Let us know where you stand. Did Andrew Barry make the right move forcing Stefanski's hand? Should the Browns stick with Shedeur no matter how it plays out next game? Or did the front office just light a fire they can't control? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Smash that like button if you live for behind-the-scenes power plays, and subscribe to stay locked in. Because this isn't the end of the Browns quarterback drama, it's just the beginning.